Can Kylian Mbappé really do the unthinkable in 2026? Not just win another trophy, not just score more goals, but actually move closer to football's most untouchable benchmark. Mbappé is no longer just a wonder kid chasing history. He's now the captain of France, the face of Real Madrid, and a player who already owns records that most legends never reached. By 27, he's won a World Cup, scored a World Cup final hat-trick, claimed a European golden shoe, and already sits among the game's most feared forwards. But football fans keep asking the same question. Is greatness enough, or does he need something even bigger to enter Messi territory? Before we continue, make sure to like and subscribe for breakdowns and updates, and let's get into it. Every generation gets its football king. For nearly 2 decades, Lionel Messi sat on that throne. The goals, the trophies, the moments that felt impossible. Most players spend their careers trying to reach that level. They never get close. But Mbappé isn't following the usual script. By the age of 19, he had already helped France win the 2018 World Cup. He scored 4 goals in the tournament, including one in the final against Croatia, becoming only the second teenager after Pelé to score in a World Cup final. That's not normal, that's history. Then came another reminder in 2022. France didn't lift the trophy, but Mbappé delivered 8 goals, won the Golden Boot, and scored a hat-trick in the World Cup final against Argentina. Very few players ever own a World Cup moment. Mbappé owns several, and that's why this debate refuses to go away. We're not talking about potential anymore. We're talking about a player who, at just 27, already has achievements that many all-time greats never touched. But here's where the story gets even more interesting. Because the World Cup isn't the only place where Mbappé has been rewriting expectations. Let's stay with the international stage for a second, because this is where Mbappé's case becomes seriously dangerous. Heading toward 2026, he already has 12 World Cup goals from just 2 tournaments. That's enough to place him among the competition's most prolific scorers, while still being in his 20s. The numbers get even crazier. He became the youngest French player ever to score at a World Cup in 2018. 4 years later, he scored 8 times in Qatar and left with the Golden Boot. Then there was that final, 3 goals on the biggest stage in football. Even with France losing on penalties, the performance instantly became part of World Cup history. And the leadership role keeps growing. In 2023, Didier Deschamps handed him the France captaincy following Hugo Lloris's international retirement. That wasn't just a symbolic move. It showed that France now sees Mbappé as the face of an entire football generation. If France makes another deep run in 2026, the spotlight will belong to him again. But international success alone doesn't settle Messi's comparisons. For that, Mbappé had to walk into the toughest football stage in Europe. For years, everybody knew where this story was heading. After a transfer saga that stretched across multiple seasons, Mbappé finally arrived at Real Madrid in 2024. His presentation at the Santiago Bernabeu drew 80,000 spectators. The expectations couldn't have been higher, and somehow he delivered immediately. In his debut La Liga season, he scored 31 goals in 34 matches, won the Pichichi Trophy, and secured his first European Golden Shoe. Then he followed that with another Pichichi Trophy in 2025-26, while finishing as the UEFA Champions League top scorer with 15 goals. The records kept coming. His hat-trick against Barcelona pushed him to 39 goals for the season, breaking Ivan Zamorano's record for the most goals scored by a Real Madrid player in a debut campaign. That's the thing about Real Madrid. Good performances aren't enough. You have to make history. Mbappé is doing exactly that. But now comes the hardest part of the entire conversation. Because scoring goals is one thing, surpassing Messi is something else entirely. Now we arrive at the uncomfortable part of this debate. Because Mbappé isn't chasing an ordinary legend, he's chasing Lionel Messi. And that's exactly why so many football fans hesitate when they hear the question, can Mbappé surpass him? The reality is that Mbappé himself has never tried to force that comparison. In fact, Messi was one of his football idols growing up. Long before becoming a superstar, he admired players like Cristiano Ronaldo, Zinedine Zidane, Ronaldinho, Ronaldo Nazario, Neymar, Thierry Henry, and Messi himself. What's fascinating is that Mbappé has already achieved milestones at ridiculous speed. He reached 300 career goals at 24 years and 333 days old. According to the provided data, that was faster than both Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo by age. That's the type of statistic that grabs attention. But football fans don't judge greatness on speed alone. They judge it on longevity. They judge it on dominance across years, not moments. That's where the challenge becomes brutal. Mbappe's career has been explosive. Messi's legacy became untouchable because he sustained excellence season after season. And that brings us to another huge question. What actually matters more, records or reputation? This is where the arguments get messy. If football were decided only by records, Mbappe's case would already look incredibly strong. He's won the FIFA World Cup Best Young Player award. He's won a World Cup Golden Boot. He's earned 6 selections in the FIFA FIFPro World 11. He's been named League One Player of the Year a record 5 times. He finished as League One's top scorer for 6 consecutive seasons. And in 2024-25, he added the European Golden Shoe to his collection. Those are elite achievements by any standard. But football history has never worked like a simple spreadsheet. Think about it. Plenty of players have scored goals. Plenty have won trophies. Very few become symbols of an era. That's why every season at Real Madrid now carries enormous weight. Every Champions League run, every title race, every individual award. The spotlight is different when you're being compared to football immortality. Mbappé has already become PSG's all-time leading scorer. He already owns records with France. He already has over 400 career goals. Yet somehow, the conversation still feels unfinished, because football's biggest individual prize continues to hover over this entire debate. And that's where things get really interesting. For all the goals, trophies and records, one mountain still stands in front of Mbappé, the Ballon d'Or. He's been close before. He finished 3rd in the 2023 Ballon d'Or voting and was runner-up for the Best FIFA Men's Player Award after the 2022 season. Close, but not at the summit. That's why 2026 feels so important. At club level, he's already proving himself at Real Madrid. He won back-to-back Pichichi trophies, became a Champions League top scorer again, and keeps breaking records that once looked untouchable. Internationally, he's France's captain. He has already reached 50 international goals, and later became France's second all-time leading scorer with 52 goals. The platform couldn't be bigger, and history suggests moments define legacies. The 2018 World Cup elevated him into superstardom. The 2022 World Cup final turned him into a global icon. Now imagine another historic run in 2026. Suddenly, the Ballon d'Or conversation changes. Suddenly, the Messi comparison gets louder. And suddenly, football may be forced to answer a question that once sounded impossible. This is where the entire conversation could explode. Because if France lifts the World Cup in 2026, with Mbappé leading the team, suddenly we're not talking about a great player anymore. We're talking about one of the most accomplished football careers ever. Remember, this isn't a player chasing his first World Cup. Mbappé already won one in 2018 and reached another final in 2022. He has already scored 12 World Cup goals across those tournaments and holds the record for the most goals scored in World Cup finals with 4. That's what makes 2026 so fascinating. France isn't handing leadership to a young prospect anymore. Since 2023, Mbappé has worn the captain's armband. The responsibility is his, the spotlight is his, the pressure is his, and pressure has never really scared him. By late 2025, he had already reached 400 career goals, becoming the youngest player to hit that mark since Pelé in 1964. That's the kind of company he's starting to keep, so imagine the scene. Another World Cup run, another major international trophy, another tournament where Mbappé delivers on the biggest stage. At that point, the debate changes completely, because then people won't be asking whether he's great. They'll be asking where he ranks among the greatest. So, can Mbappé surpass Messi in 2026? The honest answer is that nobody knows. What we do know is that very few players have ever built a résumé like this before turning 30. A World Cup winner, a World Cup Golden Boot winner, France captain, PSG's all-time leading scorer, Real Madrid star, 2 straight Pichichi Trophy wins, a European Golden Shoe, more than 400 career goals, and countless records that arrived years earlier than most expected. That's why this discussion even exists. But here's the catch. Surpassing Messi isn't about one trophy, one season, or one statistic. That's why the football world remains divided. Some fans see Mbappé's pace, goals and achievements, and believe he's on track for football immortality. Others believe Messi's overall legacy remains the standard nobody can reach. And maybe that's the real answer. Mbappé doesn't need to become the next Messi. He needs to become the first Mbappé. Because if the last few years have shown us anything, it's that he keeps turning impossible expectations into reality. And if he writes another historic chapter in 2026, this debate might become louder than ever before. So here we are. The debate is still alive. Kylian Mbappé has already achieved what most footballers can only dream about. And somehow, it still feels like his biggest chapters haven't been written yet. From Bondi to Monaco, from PSG to Real Madrid, from World Cup winner to France captain, Mbappé has spent his entire career proving people wrong. The records keep growing, the expectations keep rising, and with the 2026 World Cup on the horizon, another massive opportunity is waiting. Whether he eventually surpasses Messi or not, one thing is certain: football is watching every step. So, what do you think? Can Mbappé truly surpass Messi, or is Messi's legacy simply untouchable? Make sure to like and subscribe for breakdowns and updates, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.